Yes, it is Thursday. It is 9. So it's UK Cowboys time. How we doing, guys? We all okay?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, man. But where the hell did Rich just disappear?
He's had enough already. He started and he's finished before he just got he's thrown in a towel.
Oh dear.
Yep.
Hey, it's been a while since I've spoken to you both. Various reasons. Personal and vacational and all the rest of it. How are we both doing it? I haven't seen you in so long.
Not too bad. Obviously, last week I had a bit of a scare with my dog, and that's why I wasn't on last week's show. But all good now. But yeah, I'll be in Greece in a couple of weeks' time, so I might join on the show while I'm live. So I'm bringing my laptop and I'm bringing my microphone with me to Greece, so I might join in from.
Yeah. Sure. I was gonna say, when you say you're in Greece, you mean as in the country, not as in the fluid.
Oh no, I'm talking all about the Grease Lightning.
Or the musical. Grease Lightning. Scottish Grease Lightning.
Yes,
yes,
guys.
All on Uzo gives you just chills, honestly. That's gonna be a good night.
But of course, we are here to continue talking about the Cowboys off season, week 2 of camp. Lots to talk about this week.
Good, Mike, because I have completely lost track of this whole week at all because I've not really been paying much attention. So it'd be really good to kind of get up to speed and things.
Yeah. Come in and do, instead of talking about what's going on, come and catch up, mate.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And obviously that goes for everyone at home as well. Get your comments and questions and feelings and whatever we talk about, if you agree or disagree. But one thing I do need to do is I need to shout out all the podcast listeners that have the audio only. I mean, those guys right now are absolutely on fire for us.
Big shout out to our Spotify and Apple Music listeners, man. Big shout out.
All of them. They are absolutely flying. It's flying out. Thank you very much, guys. As we always say, you are our MVPs.
The real MVPs.
The real.
Yep.
The real. One and only.
MVPs.
So, yes, I think what we'll do is let's start with the crap first of all, guys. So, James Washington last week went down with a broken foot. Talk of the town at the moment is the wide receiver core. Now, we're all going to have different versions of what we feel. I'll give my 2 pence in at the end, but let's swing around and get into discussion about the wide receiver core. I'm trying to read 3 things at once. So let's talk about the wide receiver core. How does everybody feel about it right now?
Very reliant on one person right now.
Yeah. And there was a scary moment with him this week where he actually went down for a couple of seconds and then got up and, was straight back into it. But,
that was on Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm sure Will McClay this week is just every time somebody's gone down, because James Washington went down, Jordan Lewis went down for a little bit straight after, and I'm sure Will McClay was like, "Oh Jesus Christ," But I think we're seeing enough out of the young guys that I don't think we necessarily need to go panicking and paying over the odds at the moment for somebody like T.Y. Hilton or whatever. I think. If get past the first preseason game, see how these guys actually do in a game situation, see if you've got something there, if you've got something to build on. If not, therefore, then go and either target somebody or start looking at the veterans that are likely to be cut at the end of the training camps on other teams. The veterans, obviously, you don't need to teach them how to run a 9 route in the NFL or the various passing trees. You just basically need to get them up to speed on the playbook. And when way back, if you go back to the last time we had a wide receiver by committee, and we then ended up trading for Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper picked up the offense within 10 days, pretty much. We picked him up the week during the bye week. he had 10 days to work with Dak or so, and then he was full flow for the first game.
Yeah. Now, what you say, I'll come to you now, Rich, in a sec. The one thing I will say that has been a bit of a shining light in the whole wide receiver core situation is at the moment, and he's not renowned for doing it, is Dak has been on fire in practice. He's been holding it steady. He's been holding the ship. And usually practice, we always say this about Dak, is that you see him in practice and you go, oh, well, why are you trying that? And then all of a sudden the lights come on and he just balls out.
It really sounds like he's really come into his element this training camp. He is becoming that franchise quarterback that we're asking for. He's doing all the right things. He's listening to his coaches. So I mean, if that can transpire going into the season, I don't see how us as fans can have any argument against that at all. He's there doing his job.
Yeah. Go on then, Rich. We haven't heard from you in a while because you've been busy doing baby things. So what's your take on the whole wide receiver core? I mean, you've got a wide receiver core of your own at the moment in that house. So.
Oh, mate, it's... I can cover them all.
Sorry, I'm sorry. That was a good one, mate. That was a good one.
The new one's going in.
Every now and then one will come out.
Wait, that sounds like me having kids. It's put me a little bit on edge. It all rides ultimately on CD Lamb. Well, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be normal otherwise, would it? But it does smack of like going on from what Graham was saying. Lorne, sleep deprivation.
God, you have been away a while.
I know. Going on from what Lorne was saying about wide receiver by committee, it does smack of before we got Amari Cooper.
That 2017.
Things by committee generally don't work. Teams can get away, and they have done, and teams have done pretty well as recently as last season of having one good, solid wide receiver and then a bunch of guys.
Yep.
But you need to have that good wide receiver, and that's why we went away and got Amari Cooper. And your hope is that that's what CeeDee Lamb's going to be this year. But I'm not 100% convinced. I really hope he is. I think he can be, but I'm not 100% yet.
Mm-hmm. The thing is, what I was going to say is that, like, it's not a saving grace. You'd rather nobody get injured. But the fact that it's happening so early in camp isn't a bad thing because, let's not forget, right, that we're all going, wide receiver depth. And I put the list of wide receivers on our Facebook, and people looking at it and go, if I
the sixth one is Turpin.
If I said to you, though, that Tony Romo's going to get injured, then our backup Kellen Moore's going to get injured, and we're going to our third string quarterback in Dak Prescott. People were even back then going, oh no, our season's done. Little did we know what would turn out.
It happens more often than not, especially with the Cowboys. Even there's always a guy that goes undrafted that makes the team near enough every year and makes an impact. Heck, even keeping it with wide receivers, you're going back a ways, but you've got Miles Austin.
Yeah.
Look at Cole Beasley. People keep talking about Cole Beasley. He came in and out of the team.
Up and down like a yo-yo at the minute, potentially, but that's a different kettle of fish. But yeah, it happens a lot. It can happen from anywhere, and that's one of the good things of having, if you've got a bunch of guys, you've got a bunch of them. So if you're going to be playing the numbers game, in effect, you've got the numbers to do that. But it doesn't fill you with confidence when you're going into a season with that. You don't expect great things, especially coming off of last season where everyone was crazy confident going in. It was, Dallas has got one of the best wide receiver cores in the league, which they did. Team 40 burger all day long. Everyone was expecting it genuinely, not just hype. Like, they were genuinely expecting really good scores, and the scoreline generally was good. The team finished really, really high in terms of points scored. So part of me is like, is it because of that? Is it a bit of the gap in between? Maybe it is. I don't know.
I mean, the thing is like, and Jerry Jones has said it, and Kellen Moore pretty much repeated it yesterday in a press conference. You know, not very often we get a Kellen Moore press conference, but he was out talking, pretty much reiterated what Jerry Jones said, that look, opportunities arise, and we'll see what we've got in the young guys.
See, I'm so glad that you just mentioned that, because I was going to bring up this point. It's like,
go on, mate. Go for it.
So, and I want to get your guys' take on this, and this is related to James Washington. And I'm going to mention one name, TJ Vasher.
Yeah, on fire.
He's on fire.
Yeah.
Like,
he is on fire.
Like for him, this is a golden opportunity for him right now.
Did you see Dennis Houston yesterday?
I didn't know. I haven't.
He's
like
playing the X receiver, because obviously, what are we gonna do? Dak targeted him a load during like this whole mock game, and he was reeling him in.
In fact, as they were saying on Talking Cowboys yesterday,
right?
He was targeting Houston. Fehoko was open half the time, and he wasn't going to Fehoko's. But as you see here, DJ Dog is saying that, you know, Fehoko's have been making plays today. So hopefully, hopefully he is spreading it around. And then, you know, if we can get Dak to take the next step where he becomes on a level with, say, the likes of Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers plays with, you know, last year he was playing with Devante Adams and a bunch of no-names.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
You know, if he can make that work, if Dak can get to, you know, take his level that little bit further up.
That's fair. Yeah.
You know, stick with these young guys. And how many times have we missed out on guys like Danny Amendola because we've had these big name guys up, and we've told things around to keep guys when they've been injured or whatever, or not performing or holding out for beginning part of training camp or whatever, knowing that they'll be back ready for the start of the season. And then you've got to cut one of these guys at the end and they go off somewhere else and explode into the league.
Like you say, with Amendola, and he spends like 50 years in the league.
I just want to bring up and reiterate DG Dog's comments for our audio listeners. So DG Dog made the comment saying Washington has a similar body type as a running back. Fehoko is making plays today. Tolbert's best practice also today. Turpin running sweeps and only one fielding punts today. So great comment as always from our regular listener DG Dog. Big shout out to you, my friend.
All the UKs out there that bring us the comments. They bring the fire. Yeah, they bring the fire. So my next question then, and everyone at home, is the question is, with this being the case, what's the answer for you guys at the moment at wide receiver? Is the answer free agency? Is the answer see what you got? Is the answer a trade?
Listen, I'm actually going to stick with Jerry Jones in this one. I'm actually going to put faith in TJ Vasher on this. This is why I mentioned this. I'm actually willing to put some faith from what we've seen so far in camp. Like, I've not looked on what he's done so far this week, but from last week, he came out gunsling. If he can continue that momentum, it's like, why not? Why not? Yeah. Like, I'm at that point now. I'm just like, you know, if the kid's gunning for it and he's doing it all through camp, give him the chance. Let him be that wide receiver number 3. Let him go guns blazing. You know.
Go on.
I'd say exactly the same thing. As you know, it's the first week of training camp. We've not even had the first preseason game. I think you can look at these guys, give them the run out, and closer to the end of camp, if you're getting worried about where you are with these guys, then bring somebody in. But if you're bringing somebody in, you're only going to be a progress stopper. Tolbert's looking good. Tolbert's maybe even looking like he could be the number 2 for the opening day now. You're going to get Washington back. Washington has got a similar injury to what DeMarcus Lawrence had last year. That was 10 weeks. Right, It's the first week of training camp, so you've got 4 weeks. Then you're talking about put him on the IR to return. You bring him back after 4 weeks or whatever. 8 to 10 weeks was how long DeMarcus Lawrence was out.
Yeah.
Potentially he's in for 3/4 of the season. And again, if he has the potential that he had in college when he was a Biletnikoff Award winner, then, you know, again, we should be dancing. You shouldn't write him off for the whole season. So
yeah. Because I mean, like the thing you got to look at with James Washington as well. They're giving him 6 to 8 weeks, so that puts him.
I thought it was 10 weeks in some reports.
The reports are all over the shop, but basically what they're saying, if you want to round it off, really, is they're saying it's week 4 to week 8 is what they're saying. Really, is when you're going to get Washington back. I mean, he has been, mind you, cursed since he's come to the Cowboys. They brought him in and straight away. He was injured. Then he had a problem in his ranch, and then first day of camp, he goes and hurts himself on a deep pass, and then it was this. He's just completely cursed. So it is something to be said. But Rich, what's your feeling? What do you think the answer is? Are you with everyone on this consensus?
Pretty much. You have to wait and see what you have as much as you can. The trade-off with that is that you then limit your options, because free agency at the minute is the options there are pretty terrible. Not necessarily in terms of quality, but with a whole host of other factors like reliability, injury history, availability, cost factor, all of that kind of stuff.
Because you're looking at about 10 mil to bring a free agent back.
It's just even for one season, you're talking about 10 mil.
Exactly. Well, if you look at the linebacker we just brought in, his deal last year was a one-year deal on 10
we'll get
mil.
to him.
I'm glad you brought that up, because
that comes into it. But like Lorne said, it's a progress stopper. You've got to know, with this many young guys, you've got to know, especially when some of them do look like they're flashing, you've got to get at least, I think, 2 games in to the preseason before you even start thinking about really keying up some options and seeing who's available. If you think that is a route you're probably going to want to go, but then realistically you are looking at a trade. You're going to need to trade away some depth from somewhere else, because at that point, and this ties into a comment that someone put in earlier on in the week on the group, was that if you bring in someone at this point, it was words to the effect of he thought it would be more beneficial to give Pollard more playing time than it is to bring someone else in, and that does have a point. Because you then, at that point, you need to have someone like an Amari Cooper, a very well-established wide receiver, someone who is very smart, very savvy, is able to pick up things on the fly, or is necessarily from a scheme that's not too dissimilar, to be able to adapt on the fly. So the longer you leave it, the more you confine yourself, potentially, before you start having diminishing returns and start having delays on it. So you have to take that into account as well, but you also have to wait. So it's how long do they let that go? And you've only got 3 preseason games now. This is the downside of only having 3 preseason games, is that you've got less time in that aspect to quantify what you have.
Yeah. I mean, like, when you go through it, because some of the comments I've heard swirling around is that, don't forget, there's going to be roster cut downs. But like, my argument to that is that if they're not good enough for one team, why should it be good enough for the Cowboys? You're just picking up someone else's trash. Basically.
Yeah, if they're going to pick someone up, it needs to be someone that is on par with CD Lamb / better.
Really. Sorry, I've got a counter argument with that statement with regards to picking up someone else's trash. It might be down to the coaching. The style of coaching for that player might not suit. That player might actually be more effective in a different type of coach, different system.
No, I know what you're saying. But generally, that you'll cut in trash, isn't you? Is what you're doing. Do you know what I mean?
Well, one other thing on that is that some of the cuts that are made on the final on the final cut down day are where you're getting rid of a vested veteran so that you don't have to pay him the full. If he's on the roster on the first week or first day of the regular season, you've got to pay him for that entire 17-week season, 18-week season. Yeah. So sometimes guys are doing that. You're also cutting some of these guys and telling them to, because they don't go through waivers, you tell them to stay so that you can sign them as a free agent straight away. If you can get in, you may have to pay a little bit of a premium, but you say, right, well, I know you're on the hook for staying with Pittsburgh or whatever, but we'll give you an extra $250,000 this year or whatever. Come to Dallas, and you've got a chance. So you're not necessarily picking up trash, but I mean, one man's trash is another man's gold and all that sort of stuff. You know that.
Yeah, I know where you're going. I know where you're going.
If the scheme fits them better, then great.
Yeah, because I mean, like I've gone through the free agent list as well, and looking at it, I just there's nothing that there's one guy that particularly stands out for me, but even then, I just think we've already got that type of player. But you go through it and you go, Will Fuller is straight out the gate, and you go injury history, and the problem we've got with wide receivers is they're all getting injured. So no, T.Y. Hilton would be a nice option, but he's going to be the most expensive wide receiver out the
that was the thing I was trying to say. If we can get him cheap, then yes. But I would, but yeah, he'd be too expensive.
And you think as well that there's going to be other teams between now and when these players want to sign that have wide receiver injuries, so that only puts their price up because of supply and demand. You know what I mean?
Well,
Emmanuel Sanders is the next one, and I'm like, nah,
no,
he's nearly 36.
No,
yeah.
Alan Hearns, and I'm like, Deshaun Jackson, and you're just like, no
chance. I would take Deshaun Jackson. I'm sorry, I don't care how good of a player is, but I would not have a.
No, well, he's a gadget player, really, isn't he? When you think about it, Danny Amendola, who's in that would be ironic to bring.
Is he not retired?
Apparently he's still on the list. You got OBJ. But the trouble with OBJ is he's going to be out for the first few weeks of the season because he's still injured.
So he's no different to not having Gallup.
You're not really doing anything. So then it leads me to the next guy, which is my only guy I see is Adam Humphries, but he's going to be expensive. He's going to be 8, 9, 10 mil. Well, I think so.
Really?
Yeah.
Humphries? Nah, I don't think it'd be that expensive.
Telling you. Right, hold on. Let me see what his last contract was.
There is one person who said he's willing to come to Dallas as well.
Okay, let's have that conversation.
No. I don't think it's who you think it is. I'm about to say it's somebody that Bill Parcells used to classify as the player.
Oh, wait a minute. Adam Humphries has gone off the list. Has he signed somewhere then? Oh, no, he is still there. Go on. Continue on.
So, Terrell Owens is who...
Oh, come on.
Terrell Owens.
At 45 years old, he's still playing in the fan-led.
Was it not with the Titans?
In the fan-led league and all that, So.
Titans, yeah. So he was at the Titans.
36.
He's at the Titans for $5 million. So you think that price is only going up?
Realistically, I don't see it going down. If it does, not by very much. Someone will need him.
It's never going to go down, Rich, let's be honest, because with the whole cap and all that and inflation, it's always going to go up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you look at situations like Denver, where Denver are on 3 straight years, their number one or potential number one wide receivers going down with an ACL injury. Starting with Cortland Sutton, the latest one's Patrick. They've got these guys coming back from injuries, and another one goes down, so they're going to be in the lookout for it as well.
That's it. It's going to happen.
Wasn't Jerry Jeudy one of them as well?
Jerry Jeudy has something going on, doesn't he?
He's got some type of injury, I'm pretty sure. And saying that.
That's what I'm saying. So it's supply and demand. So I think really it's goodbye, Rich. It's one of two ways that they either strike while the iron's hot and they do it and get in the market early before it really gets too expensive, or if they don't, I don't see them taking a player that gets cut from another team. So really, it's a case of I think they've either already picked their wide receiver who they're going to take, and they'll do it early. But if we don't see it, they're literally rolling with what we've got. That's my opinion. Another thing. I'm sorry. There we go. So let's move on to the next one. So like I said, we'll go through the crap first. Jake Ferguson has a hamstring. So just to further crack on with Dak's receiving options. He went down with a hammy yesterday during the mock game, but also Jeremy Sprinkle is in a walking boot after he hurt his Achilles, so there's that going on. Maybe they bring Rico Gathers back, who knows? But
oh, come on, mate, come on, hey, behave yourself, my goodness, chat.
But talking of
everyone is watching this. Everyone's going to be gunning for you for that comment.
But also in other news, in other Rico news, Rico Dowdle is currently out with the Rona. He's got the he does have the virus, so he's away at the moment. So let's bring it back to the good stuff then, shall we? Anthony Barr. Who wants to talk about Anthony Barr first? Who's excited? I'm excited. I'm very excited.
Like I said, DG Dog just even brought up the comments like, what do you think about the Anthony Barr signing? I for one, for what the price that we're paying for, I'm quite happy about it. Like it brings good cover, depth towards like a really very thin line depth chart of a linebacker core. So with his experience and what his attributes are, I'm very happy for what the price that we paid for and what he can bring to the table. Whether that will transpire, how much game time he'll get, that remains to be seen. But overall, I'm pretty happy.
Yeah. This is an exciting. Last year, I was if you remember, very excited about the Malik Hooker signing. I was just like jumping over the moon. I am just about the same with this signing. Just basically what it means for Micah Parsons. This more than anything, it gives him free reign, basically. But Lorne, that way, Lorne and Rich, give us your feelings on the Anthony Barr signing, and then we'll go through stats and style and contract costs and all the rest of it. Give me your initial feelings.
I'll let you go first, Rich.
What has two thumbs and is really happy about this signing?
This guy right here.
This guy right here. Like you said, it's free reign for Micah. They made a really good point on. Was it Hanging with the Boys? I think it was Hanging with the Boys today. They were talking about this. They were all really hyped about it, and there's been a real concerted effort, which I know Paul has been behind in terms of adding size to this defense as a whole, but especially the line. So now that they seem to have gotten some big guys in the middle, hopefully that plugs a bit of the run up the middle. That then forces people to go to the edges. So we know who's playing defensive ends.
Yeah.
When it comes to linebackers, now you've got, on one side, you've got Micah Parsons. Good luck with that. You've now got Anthony Barr on the other side, who is pretty sturdy.
He can play the mic, but you generally find he's on the edge.
Exactly. And then, like you just highlighted, there's versatility there. And he is...
A little.
He can play with pressure. There you go. Has decent size. He can play with pressure. He can bring it up. So there's going to be a lot of mixing going around. I think there's going to be a lot of fun. This is a linebacker core that potentially could be really fun to watch this season. Really fun to watch.
Just for our audio listeners, the comment brought by DG Dog once again is that Barr's not as bad as a pass rusher and has decent size also, which we completely agree.
Yes.
Yeah. We'll go through his stats in a moment once we get Lorne's feelings, because I know Lorne's very excited when it comes to Barr, because it sounds like brew.
Yep.
Paul is just giving up.
Yeah. I'm coming out with him tonight.
Yeah.
For the audio listeners, Paul is face palming.
He loves it.
Just to go on the back of what everybody else has said, I mean, we've got a 4-time Pro Bowler at a bargain cost. We've got a guy who has something like 16 interceptions in his career at linebacker. We haven't had a linebacker since probably back in the days of who was it, Bruce Carter and what have you, that have had multiple interceptions. So this is only going to help with the pass defense as well.
Mr. Coakley.
But there's somebody more recent than that, sort of round about the first year that we had Rolando McClain and what have you.
Rolando McClain.
But this is only going to help us, because you don't have to sub him out for passing downs. He can be quite easily in. You can take LVE out if you're worried on passing downs. You're not basically forcing people to. All of these guys can sort of mix and match if need be, and we're going to be seeing Parsons lining up at Mike. We're going to see him line up at all three linebacker positions. So it's not a case of then subbing somebody into or subbing somebody out. You can have all three on the field. You could have some sort of nickel package where you actually have one of these linebackers still on the field as well, and perhaps covering as well. So
yeah.
It just gives more flexibility for this defense, and Dan Quinn will scheme ways of working them in as well.
Anthony Barr
thinks it's Christmas in freaking August.
Yeah, well, I would say more than I would say Anthony Barr is. I bet he's sitting there going, looking at Micah Parsons last year, and then the progression of LVE through the year, and going, "Yep, I can't wait for this."
Do you think that's had an impact on why he's gone for the money he has?
No, I would say it's his injuries. Because basically, when you look at the risk assessment involved with Anthony Barr, the negative is his knees. Basically, that's why they're moving on. Is that he does come with a baggage in terms of debilitating injury history. But
he had a good season.
Stats, right? So here we go. Last season, he had actually an up season. So obviously, 2020 hardly played due to injury. But here it is in 98 games. Are you ready? I'll give it to you all. So in 98 games, he's had, and let me get this up, 5 interceptions, 31 pass defenses, 8 forced fumbles, 7 fumble recoveries. One of them, in fact, was against Dallas last year when we played him, although we beat them, but he still did that. He has scored a touchdown, 17.5 sacks, 495 tackles, 39 tackles for a loss.
That goes long.
Yeah, one safety and 139 total pressures.
It's all right.
Yeah. But people will say, yeah, but what's he done recently? Ironically, 2018, when he got his last Pro Bowl award, if you like, or his sign there, he had a better year in 2021 last season than he did in that year.
Exactly.
Yep.
So I get the point you're making. It's just with how good a season he had, I find it difficult to accept that. That's the whole, 8 mil is a long way to come for that when it's not an injury prone kind of thing. Yes, he got injured, but he hasn't necessarily shown he's injury prone or there's a massive weakness there. He's come back, he's had his prove it deal. And, I know he's saying with the type of injury and there is concerns there, but 8 mil is a long way to go. And by all accounts, he dropped to the money on his end rather than, say, Dallas pushing him down, is what I've heard. So I do just wonder how much what's here around him plays into that.
Just want to bring up, I want to bring up Drunk's comment. If you have a second name Drunk, feel free to put that in your comments as well so we can help you with that. But he's very hype about Anthony Barr as well. And he does make a good point.
This is true.
Yep. Some players that do come to Dallas tend to have a good rebirth. Good prime example. Amari Cooper. London McLean. There's a good few names out there for sure. But I think
especially in recent history as well.
And recent history, absolutely, yeah, definitely, 100%.
Yeah, and the thing is he plays that and you already attested to it, Lon, because I was watching tape throughout the day today and just before we came on Anthony Barr. Is you see him, especially when he's on the right hand side of the line, because he's just so tall and lanky and such big reach. If he's over there and the players are trying to pass that way, he's just this big blanket that just sticks his arms up, and you see it so many times. But he's also got the speed and the agility to cover the flat. But if you do decide to run that way as well, his ability to scrape, he hasn't got any loss of power with all that speed. He can scrape and get to the ball carrier. And like I said, I was watching the Cowboys game from Minnesota last year, and he was in, and he's wrapping Zeke up. He's tackling, he's no fear, and he's tackling up, wrapping him up. He gets a forced fumble off a sack. Cooper Rush gets sacked, and he's all over that ball straight away. He's one of the first to react. And what I do like is there's a lot of parts to him because he is primarily this very typical off-ball, linebacker. We have said he can sack. You do see it. But he's really, where he comes into play is just his tackling and his coverage. He's just that's his pinnacle of the game. But he's also just his playmaker. And we've already got two playmakers on the field in Trayvon Diggs and Micah Parsons. Now you're going to put another guy who can play the ball. I mean, that is like the options available. And think what you can do now with Micah Parsons, having that there. The packages you can run are just like endless with those options. So very happy news of the Anti-Bar. He is in Dallas, actually, as we speak. He's there now. Well, he's not in Dallas. He's in LA. So he's already in LA. So he's in Dallas as in terms with the team. So I should make myself clear. So he's already with them, which is good news. So we hopefully get to see him in camp sometime soon. Because obviously they're going to put him through all the
he's going through. He hasn't signed yet. He's going through all the medical stuff now. So pending that, they're expecting potentially to see him at Denver. Yeah,
which will be fun. By the way, is from the moment of recording this, that Denver game is 10 days away. Cooper Rush days. Unless you're listening from the podcast or on Facebook tomorrow. Then you're on Tony Romo days. Yeah.
Yep.
Unless you're listening to on Saturday, then it's Troy Aikman days.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Cool. Then it's Sunday, and then you're on Trayvon Diggs day.
Craig Morton.
We could keep doing this all day, so we won't. But all right, let's get back to this then. So there is obviously some other news. Matt Waletzko, he is out with a shoulder surgery injury. Muffed that up. So now that brings offensive tackle back to question. Good news is Josh Ball has been all right so far. He's held his own, but it's depth. Yep. It's depth. We're here again at offensive tackle, and we all know why we talk so in depth about the depth of offensive tackle is that there's an issue with the left tackle. At some point, Tyron Smith is going to get injured, and we're going to have to do a bit of a shuffle. Swing tackle is now a question, but we're here again. And I've gone and checked free agency. Forget it. Yeah, I just don't know what the option is going to be here at tackle. I mean, I feel tackle right now is a bigger issue than wide receiver.
Yep. I completely agree with that. I mean, it's one of the sort of things, especially if you catch any of the spring leagues that you're watching, the USFL and all that. Yeah. Half the reason why they're not flourishing is that there is an absolute dearth of good O-line play. The NFL has all the O-liners that it needs, and there isn't that depth of quality. Even the backups in a lot of places. Yeah. And, Mickey Spagnola's, the last couple of weeks he's been going through talking about the situation. And, you've got guys like, Riley Reef or whatever, who's signed with Chicago for 1 year for $3 million. You're going to have to fork. He's probably the best on the market. And you're going to have to fork out something like that as well. And, we're just going to have to do something. Do you want to
pay that for a swing tackle, though, Lorne?
Not at all.
Nobody might have to.
No way. No way.
For somebody who is effectively going to be as good as the guys that we've had in previous years, like Ty Nzeki, Cam Fleming, Cam Irving, I'm not going to pay $3 million for that. So,
well, you definitely went through our names that just gave me really a big shudder. Of
Chaz Green. There's another one.
Oh.
There is something about fifth round offensive lineman picks that we make that
just
never
picks in general, mate.
Year.
Yeah. Fifth round picks in general. They sort of fall back. But I mean, the good news is in terms of the O-line is, and we said it last week when we was talking about camp, is that they were doing a lot of O-line shuffling around, and now they seem to be trying to find that cohesiveness now to find the unit, which means Tyler Smith is being put into the left guard position, and he's just balling out. Even Zeke has come out and made comments and said, "Yeah, this guy, he's strong. He's strong with he's strong starting with the letter X, so he's strong."
You only have to look at him putting Tristan Hill in the dirt the other day, and Tristan Hill is having a good camp. And there was nothing wrong with what Tristan Hill did there. It's not like a certain
he just got overpowered.
It's not like a certain player from a couple of years ago who would just stand up when the ball got snapped and get pushed off the ball all the time.
Let's talk about Tristan Hill. You make a nice little segue because I made notes on it. That we said when we were talking about camp battles a few episodes ago, actually episode 1 of season 4, we said one of the camp battles at the moment, a good one to watch, a defensive tackle, involved Tristan Hill, and he needed to have a really important camp. And at the moment, he seems to be he's doing his thing. He's ticking all the boxes.
Yep.
And he's always one of the first ones into the drills.
Yeah, and you only have to look that we brought Tack McKinley in for a workout last week. I mean, that just goes to show that they're obviously they are looking at other options. It's maybe lighting a fire under everybody. I've heard that Tristan Hill would be on the trade block because there's no loyalty from this coaching staff. It's a holdover from the Marinelli days, and Marinelli wasn't actually. He was at the draft time. He was going, this is going to be our next big player, but he never did anything that first season. And then unfortunately, the last couple of years, he started out. He's had strong camps. And then sadly, he went down the same week that Dak went out with his injury, lost for the season, came back last year, didn't get activated until about week 2 or 3. And, he was playing in place of Gallimore. And then when Gallimore came back, Gallimore took his spot probably more than anything. So, he needed to ball out. And I think he has this camp. So, again, if he can just stay healthy, it's going to make it interesting when the cut down comes.
Yeah, and this really is the year for him. He's had those years to develop now. So this is like we always say, go 3 years or plus to find out what you truly got. We're here now. So this is it for him. So this is the year where we go, was that day 2 pick, that second round pick, which was really the Cowboys' first pick that year in the draft, is he going to be worth that value? This is it for him now. But let's move on to some good things here. Zeke and Pollard, both looking really good. I mean, Zeke is making some jump cuts. And I posted some images from camp of him doing it. Some jump cuts going through the middle, and it's all power. When Pollard come on, it's different for the offensive linemen and the running backs, and they're really showing up. Pollard takes a nice little swing pass, goes 60 yards down the field. But here's a question for you and everyone at home, right? Because I was thinking about this today. Who needs who more this year? Because I really think the splits are going to be divvied up a lot more differently than it has been. Pollard's going to be sprinkled in a lot more. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if there's going to be some games where Pollard has more touches than Zeke. But here's the question for you. Who needs who more? Does Zeke need Pollard more, or does Pollard need Zeke more?
Ooh. It's an easy one for me.
Go on, then. Hit us with it, Rich.
Pollard needs Zeke more.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that, because I think you need that change. You need that thunder and lightning. You need Zeke to actually wear down the defense, pound it out between the tackles, and then you sucker the defense into the middle of the field, and then you've got Pollard open on the outside.
Yeah.
I think if the wide receiver situation is as it is, we might see this two-back set that they've been talking about, and then you swing Pollard out into the slot. So try and create mismatches.
It's very much
try and create
possible,
mismatches
very much
there as well. Yep. Yeah.
Like, if anything, I think we'll see more of a receiver in terms of Pollard. I think we'll see more an even split between rushing yards and receiving yards.
And
very possible. Very possible.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And another reason for that is the approach that Mike McCarthy took last season, in terms of where he was visibly caught on camera saying we need to keep Zeke as much as we can until the postseason. He's already got a lot of miles on the clock. You need to retain as much of that, staying as fresh as you can to the postseason. And Jerry Jones completely agrees with that, because he's gone on file as saying he thinks a big part is getting through the main regular season as uninjured as possible and staying healthy into the postseason. So I completely agree. But yeah, ultimately Pollard is a very, very good and then some change of pace back, but you need a pace to be set by a bell cow running back to be able to change that pace, and that is where Zeke comes in.
I've got a reverse question for you guys. Who does Dak need the most, Zeke or Pollard? My question is for that one is very simple.
Zeke.
And it's
Easy.
Zeke. Because for the pass protection he can provide.
Yeah.
Like he is
the pass protection is what and really that's what it boils down to.
Exactly. Like Pollard, like he's not going to take one-on-one from a defensive tackle like an Aaron Donald or anything like that, or slow him down. Essentially, he's going to get flatlined. Whereas Zeke, he can slow him down for that extra second or 2 seconds, whatever.
Yes.
And he's probably right up there in the top 5 in terms of the pass protection of all running backs. You could say Derrick Henry is probably one of them up there as well. Very underrated in his pass protection, I might add. Everyone talks about Derrick Henry's running game because he's just an absolute unit, but his size and physicality for who he is perfect for that role, to be that type of do-it-all type of running back. And Zeke does that as well.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and I think it's not just with the pass protection as well. I think you know on these run pass options or the QB options that you're talking about as well, you don't see that when Pollard's in, because Pollard's going to always seek to go outside the tackles. What you need is somebody like Zeke to take it up the middle. Give that threat.
That's a fair point.
So you get the defensive lineman to come in to the center.
They are
outside.
They are different styles of running back.
Yeah, Pollard is definitely more of a swoop and sweep type of moving outside the edge, or he might cut back into the B gap, but he will never go through an A gap. Never go through an A gap.
And we've said this. We said this before. Me and you, Paul, had this conversation. In fact, that when Zeke is on the field, you can see it and you can feel it. It's decidedly different. And you hear it as well in the collisions. That when Zeke goes into that line, and then all of a sudden you're just like, oh, it's going to be a 1 yard gain. And when they pick the ball up, they go, oh, right. And you look at it and it's 2nd and 7. And you wonder how the hell that happened, how Zeke done that. The collisions are different, but also you can feel it in the defensive presence, that when they're there, you can feel that they're different because Zeke is on the field and when Pollard is. But I genuinely feel that there's going to be games. I will guarantee it, the way things are going right now, that if it stays on this trajectory, there are going to be games where Pollard plays more snaps in that game than Zeke.
Well, absolutely, and it's all down to this. It all depends on the type of defense you're playing up
Game
against.
flow,
Like, absolutely. But I just want to bring up a DJ Dog's comment again. So he's talking about Zeke's contract, and that seems to be one of the big factors, especially within our franchise.
That's not his Yeah,
but we tend to have a lot of debate about. It's like, Zeke, he's not worth the amount of money, etc., etc. I will reiterate my defense on this. See, if it wasn't for Todd Gurley and his agent, we would not be having this discussion. Like
the contract isn't his fault.
It's not his fault. It's down to his agent, and down to the Cowboys, whatever. Now, but Zeke's doing what he's supposed to be doing. But it'd be a completely different story or a different way of discussion if Todd Gurley never got that contract with the LA Rams all those years ago, and Zeke's sitting there like, hold on a minute here. I'm a much better running back than Todd Gurley is. I'm less prone to injury, and I'm more consistent in terms of getting more near 1,000 yards per season compared to this guy. So I should be on more money than that. And that's where the whole fiasco is. And at the time,
and then they keep putting his contract. They keep going. They'll adjust his contract year by year. So what that does, like they've done with Dak, is it makes the other years down the line more expensive. That's what it does. It doesn't change how much money the player gets per year, but on the cap, how it's distributed out makes it more expensive as it goes down the line. This is part and parcel of how it all works. Absolutely. And that's not his fault either. But what is some good news that I like, and me and Lorne have spoken about this, is Rico Dowdle. Now, he is right now, I know not right now because he's out with the virus, but prior to that, he's showing oiliness. And I mean, he's been fluid, he's loose-hipped, he's been making plays. And one of the things that I was thinking is that if you're having problems, and we've already spoken briefly about this, is that if you're going to carry all three running backs, you could effectively, because he did do this as well, Tony Pollard, is you could use him as, like you've already said, Lorne, as a slot wide receiver, and you can still keep the two-back system that you have with Rico Dowdle in the mix. It's not ideal. I'm not saying that that's a perfect system, but at least it gets you through games, certainly early in the season, while Gallup and James Washington are trying to get back in the fold. I don't know what you guys think of that.
Well, it gives you options at the end of the day. And God forbid if anything happens at tight end, that gives you a little bit of flexibility, at least in the slot. So, yeah.
I mean, we'll see how that goes. But right now, running backs, I know it's a little light today in practice for various reasons, but it certainly will keep an eye on things. And Denver's going to be a great place to see how they utilize and move things around. Although Zeke, you're not going to see much of. I don't think we'll see Zeke in the preseason at all.
No, exactly. Just want to touch very quickly on DJ Dog's comment there. There was very, very wise words I heard a couple of years ago, or a good couple of years ago, actually, from friend of the show, Brian Broadus.
Mike is awesome.
Very knowledgeable guy. And I cannot remember it verbatim.
Did he say Mike is awesome?
He did say Mike is awesome.
I thought that was one of the things.
Everyone knows that anyway. God's sake, Mike. But it was words to the effect of the main problem with a guy is that everyone knows how much money he makes.
Yeah,
as soon as you know how much money someone makes, things change.
Yeah.
And people start having a lot more and a lot stronger opinions. And you've seen it with a lot of players that have done well, but people expected them to be up here and they were down here. And because they know the money, people get ideas in their head and they start getting out of kilter and they're not happy with it. And those opinions will be voiced and very strongly.
Yeah, I'm just trying to bring up another comment just to be simple. I will bring up Graham's comment. 6 contracts down to the Jones and no one else. Restructure also means delay the mortgage, which is true. But I'll bring up Drunk's comment. It's like, how about we just start Pollard and let Zeke eat leftovers? In theory, it sounds in theory, it sounds a good idea, but I'd be worried of putting Pollard in the first down when you're up against, like, say, for example, the Eagles' defensive line. That is, to me, I'd be worried for Pollard's health after that.
Yeah, the one place, funnily enough, right, to say, I'm not disagreeing or agreeing with that comment, but what I would say is that between now and week 1 is a great place to find out if that would work. You're not going to have Zeke in the preseason, so let's have the dress rehearsal game with Tony Pollard and give him a high amount of snaps. How does he fare during that? How is he when you put it all the weight on him? What, you know?
I like this comment. Don't worry about the Eagles. Jordan Davis can't run. Oh, brilliant.
He can jump, man.
He can jump.
He can jump, he can't run. You can't see he hasn't fall off. Right. Yeah, yes, you can make a reasonable thing. And I know what I've said about money has come back. Okay. There has definitely been changes to his game. A lot of that has been the simple fact of like Drunk said before, the O-line. I would agree that this team, this franchise, probably wasted one of the best altogether offensive lines in the history of football.
I agree.
From years ago. So I completely agree with that. But you then cannot turn around and say that all of that fall off is completely on Zeke when you know and accept the fact that the O-line is massively depleted compared to what it was. Moreover, touching on what we said earlier about Mike, you brought up the point of when you lose your starting quarterback, generally the season's over. Or that's how it's viewed. Unless, of course, one of your backups or your third backup is Dak. You look at what we said earlier. Go back and look at the games from last year. There are plenty of occasions from multiple teams, especially in the second half of the year, where Zeke quite literally saved his quarterback's neck. There were plenty of occasions where defensive end, linebackers, even free safeties were coming in like shit off a stick, and they were coming in hot, and Dak was going to get laid the F out. And Zeke was the man that got in the way, and he either stopped them or slowed them down. But you know Tony Pollard ain't going to do that. You can say we can put it all on him, but he's not going to have, in the preseason, the likes of certain people barreling down at him at speed with momentum and be able to stop him. It's not going to happen. Zeke can do that. He's built that way. He's tough. Pollard won't do that. So if you really want to pull it all on Pollard, I think you're really risking a hell of a lot.
Here's one for you.
Well, I was trying to get my point, and it's like if any running back that cannot even get up to the line of scrimmage, then that's on the O-line for not making their blocks.
Yeah, we talked about this stat.
That's a simple fact. Yeah. Like if your running back is getting hit beyond the line of scrimmage, like even if it's just down the line in the middle, the only time you can really argue that is you're shifting out to the edge because you're going wide out. You're not gaining up as much forward momentum as much as that. But if you're getting hit, if you're going for inside run and you're getting hit like 2 yards back, like just even where Dak was just handed you the ball, then that's on the O-line. That's not. It's not on the running back.
You can have a propensity as a running back to fall forward when you're hit, but if you're tackled behind the line of scrimmage, you ain't going to fall forward 9 freaking yards. That ain't going to
bring no momentum. Yeah,
exactly.
And if anything as well, and I do apologize, Drunk. Sorry if we're kind of making you feel we're against. We're not. We're loving the comments, man, and bring it more. Bring it on. We're loving it. It's a good point. It's a really good point. And if there's one thing you can really give Zeke credit for is yards after contact. Like even beyond he gets hit beyond the line of scrimmage, he still manages to get it just maybe 1 yard or 2 yards. Like it may not look pretty on the TV screen, but sorry, that was my phone. It's dying. It's all good. But you get the point though. It's like if you get tackled beyond the line of scrimmage and somehow you still manage to get a yard gain, that's a win from a yardage point of sale. So, but yeah,
but what I can do is I can put your mind at rest with Zeke, though, right? Is that what you got to remember is there's two parts to Zeke's season last year. There's healthy Zeke and there's injured Zeke.
Yes.
Yeah.
What people don't realize is New England game is where he got injured. To that point, he ranked third in the league in yards per carry at 5.2 yards per carry. After that, that was it. It dropped to the 3 yards and below. So there's two parts of the season. If Zeke had carried on the way he was going, he would have been. He still finished as a top 10 running back, right? Yep. Most of that was due to the first quarter of the season in what he did when we had healthy Zeke. Sure. Healthy Zeke was on fire last year, and in those games, in the first 5 games, right? And I'll give this to you: first 5 games, 1, 2, 3, 4. He had 5 touchdowns. After that game, so after week 5, he had 2, 3. He had 5 touchdowns all season. So the first 5 weeks, he was on fire, got injured, become a different player. And what do you expect? The guy had a knee injury, and they kept trying to just put him in there. They had no choice to.
Yeah, they were just basically just trying to say, no, we don't care.
He would have finished as like right behind. He wouldn't have been Jonathan Taylor, but he would have most certainly been right behind him if he'd stayed on that trajectory.
Even maybe not from Zeke's point of view, but remember last year when it came to Dak before his injury, the projections he was getting, he was about to break all NFL records before he got injured against the Giants.
That was another example. Yeah. So there's two different. That's the way I look at it. So I want to see how Zeke is at the start of the season. You'll be able to judge this part of the season, preseason with camp. And I'm just sticking with Drunk's comments because I'm kind of like with him and not at the same time.
It's a good discussion. It's a great discussion, and this is what we're enjoying. So, Drunk, thank you so much again for your comments.
Keep on reeling
Samuel, everybody is watching right now.
Keep on reeling in, guys. I just think that this side of the season, you're going to find out what you got in Pollard. The start of the season, you're going to find out what you got in Zeke. That's the way it works. Yep. But let's move back to the defense, guys. I just want to say Anthony Brown right now, he is my player of camp at the moment. He's just completely on fire, balling out. But I do want to say on the backside of that, Jordan Lewis has decided to turn it on as well. Mm-hmm. So there's cornerback 1, 2, and 3. Go on.
I'm still gonna wait for that butt with Jordan Lewis though.
No, he's doing absolutely.
No, I agree.
He's not having any problem.
I know it's.
I see what you're saying. Like it's going to come.
Yeah,
there's more of it to come. But what you have seen, what you typically saw with pretty much everyone not named Diggs last season, was that they would, but especially with Jordan Lewis, they were there, and balls were in the vicinity, and they were tipped, and it was you probably could have, should have come down with that one. Maybe with the amount there were, you would have expected a couple more. You look at what happened the other day with Jordan Lewis. I believe he got an interception. Was it Jordan Lewis? And it was one of those juggling. Oh, he hasn't got it. And then he gathers it and brings it in.
Down with it,
So basically holding a hot potato.
He just brings it in, gets the magnet out of his sleeve and just sucks it into his hands. And it's brilliant. So I watched that and I was like, okay, this could potentially be a bit of a nice change of pace.
Yeah.
There is that progression from almost being there to, okay, we're going to start nailing a couple of these now.
Because we talked about last year when we let go of Cheeto, it's like, shouldn't it not be the other way about? We kept Cheeto and let Jordan Lewis go. Mm-hmm. Like we all had that argument, but it seems to be it's starting to slowly progress.
Yeah. I mean, like, what it is with Jordan Lewis is the same what we were talking about with Tristan Hill, is consistency. But it seems to be all of a sudden this year, both Tristan Hill and Jordan Lewis are finding a level of consistency. But
Dan Quinn's taking them both down the big boy pants.
That's It's like I like Jordan. So John's brought in a comment. I do like this one. I like Jordan Lewis. I like what he gives for what he's getting paid.
When you know what people are getting paid.
If only all the players were getting paid that extra small amount, and you would no one would have a problem with it. I totally get it. Dude.
Was it as well, Paul? Me and you were speaking about Jordan Lewis a few shows back, and
may have been.
Was it CBS or Fox Sports, and they ranked slot cornerbacks, and Jordan Lewis was second?
That's right. I think it was. I think it was me and you. It was talking about that.
Yeah. He was actually ranked the second best.
It was Fox, wasn't it?
It might have been.
I'm pretty sure it was Fox Sports. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Here's one though where people don't seem to be talking about, and I see it constantly at the moment. A guy who's going under the radar, who's doing everything he needs to do and ticking boxes, is Nation Wright. That guy, all of
and he was one of the talk, and he was one of the talk of the talks last camp as well.
Yeah, because he was a top 100 player and he was classed as a UDFA.
Yeah,
they gave him an outside draft rank, basically. Go on, Ron.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing as well, we're saying that Anthony Brown's having a good camp, but he's still prone to the odd drop. I mean, if you went back to last season, Anthony Brown could have doubled his interception total last season and had quite a few pick sixes last season.
Here's the
number that hit him in the hands and just bounced on the ground, unfortunately.
But I'm happy if he's getting his hand on the ball. I don't care.
Exactly. That was the point I was just about to make. I don't mind if Jordan Lewis or whoever,
Anthony Brown,
drops a potential interception. As long as he's deflected that pass and that ball touches the ground, the play's dead. Like he's done his job. He's stopped the right receipt. He's killed the play.
Killed the drive.
It's like linemen getting pressures. You don't always have to get home. If you're getting up there and you're getting the right result, good job.
You're getting your hands in the face. That's it. Yeah. But I got your next question. Oh, go on, Ron. Go on.
The main thing for me is that Anthony Brown, the early years in the league, he had a susceptibility to watch the QB's eyes, and the QB could get him on double moves. That's not happening this year. It's not happening last year in the tail end of last year as well. So this is obviously something that's good. He's working.
It's clicking.
And again, these guys, Brown's in the last year of his contract. So again, talking about third year. Jordan Lewis is in the second year of a 3-year contract, which is very similar to Brown. You've got these young guys. Boss man Fat. He's back. He's been cleared from legal matters, whether the NFL seem to be focused on Deshaun Watson at the moment. But whether anything's going to come of it from Roger Goodell's office, who knows?
They've just appointed an attorney actually today, just like minutes ago.
Oh dear.
Yeah. But this is, you've got these young guys that are cheap. Cowboys are looking to, in an ideal world, all of these draft picks would be starting, and the veterans that are making $2-3 million a year upwards, these are the guys that would be getting let out onto the street. And the main thing is that Anthony Brown and Jordan Lewis are not resting on their laurels. They see these guys. They know what's happening. They know that they've got to come out and battle for this money. And that's what they're doing. So this is positive for me. And I think it's just a change in the defensive philosophy from way back when Rod Marinelli, it was the bend don't break. It was we'd rather see you give up the catch, give up the 10 yards, but don't go for the interception and give
that
up
whole fly ball idea. Yeah. But here's my question for you, right? That obviously we've got Diggs being Diggs, Anthony Brown showing out, Nation Wright is showing up at the moment and doing really good. Jordan Lewis has solidified his spot as well. So now we're down to Kelvin Joseph talk, right? At the moment, he's kind of been the guy not showing up as much, obviously with last year as well. So my question is now, with Nation Wright showing up and sort of, at the moment, I have him over Kelvin Joseph. So now you've got a day 2 pick, again, struggling to make the roster. My question here is how much longer does it take before we call Kelvin Joseph a bust? Because he hasn't got much longer left for me.
I'm kind of losing. I really don't. I don't know if it's just me, guys, but
yeah,
I think he's kind of. I just don't see Joseph getting much game time at all, and
at the moment,
and I think he might actually get. It might. I don't think he'll get cut this year due to the numbers.
No.
Next year, maybe.
Yeah.
I agree. He needs to take a trip to whichever big boy patch store the other guys have gone to, get himself a couple of pairs and strap them on tight because, if he doesn't sort of shape up and make any sort of great progression anytime soon, he's getting left behind. This new, not management, but, Dan Quinn coming in and the people he's brought in, there has been a definite shift, especially in this offseason, away for some big names because the availability and the production was not there relative to what they were being paid in a lot of ways.
I do want to bring up Dog's comment. It's like, don't blame Joseph for the fascia TD. That was a sick catch.
Oh, yeah. That's the catch of camp.
Yeah, so just to add an extension to that, Joseph was holding like hell on Vasher. Like he was doing everything in his path. Like he got beat by Vasher. He did try to recuperate.
I was waiting for a flag.
It was either going to be a touchdown or it was going to be a flag. That was it. So and Joseph like that catch was unbelievable. And
I think the thing going at the moment, I think, for Kelvin Joseph is that it's this coaching staff, this very, very coaching staff we have right now are the ones that drafted him. So they are going to be apprehensive in letting him go. But he's not on the hot seat quite yet, but he's certainly, I would say, come up in conversation so far with
it's starting to warm up.
What's wrong? What's going on here?
You're starting to have those sorts of conversations of what can we do to help you, because you are starting to try and find a way to make it work. But if it doesn't work, like you said, past this season, they can't find a way to make it work. Other people are showing up and he's getting left behind.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately, that is just one of those things. It's going to happen.
And what's ironic, right, Paul? You like this one, is think about what we're having a conversation about here. We're talking about depth at defensive back as a Cowboys fan. When has that ever happened in the history of the Cowboys?
When was the last time we ever mentioned depth within our secondary?
I mean, we're talking about cornerback number 5 here, and we're going, don't know if he's going to make the team. Ooh.
Yep.
Yeah.
And when you look at the safeties, all the safeties are balling out. I mean, Mukwamu is a little bit quiet, but the safeties are all doing their thing.
Yeah, I mean, man, I just don't know. I really don't.
Okay, I got one.
What's concerning about Joseph is that the only time I've heard his name in dispatches was the Vasher catch.
Yeah.
And when James Washington went down injured, he was the one that was in coverage as well. It's the only time you've heard about him really in camp. He's not. I don't think he's done a hell of a lot else.
No.
Bad luck is a good thing. That is a real thing, rather.
In fact, I do have to say something as well. I think also as well, like it didn't. This is just probably my personal opinion as well, and it kind of relates to Cole Beasley as well. And the reason I'm saying that is because of the music career. Like you can't, you can't be like. I don't know if it's just me, and you can bash me like guys in the comments, guys watching this. You can bash me all you want, but for me, I'd rather have someone that's fully dedicated to the one thing and one thing only.
No background noise.
Yeah, you're either a football player or the other. You can do side projects, whatever than that, but it shouldn't be taken up your time from football.
Do you think then, though,
completely
Paul? Do you think though, Paul, as well, the stuff that's happened during the off season with the law and everything, that's having an effect on his concentration, or is kind of like, just kind of like squished him, just put him off
yeah,
kilter?
Of course. Yeah, that kind of makes my comment even worse now.
No, but I'm just thinking,
it's a fair point.
It's a fair point.
Background noise, that's another thing.
It's a very, very fair point. Scouts and team officials sit down with draft potentials and try and figure out just how committed these kids are to football, to that being their everything, anything and everything for however long. Because they want to know, and they need to know before they invest that kind of draft capital in them. So it's no different to someone who's already in the league. And we've seen it in this team specifically very recently with the whole Hot Boys thing. You look at how everyone was so against the Hot Boys after the end of the season. Just not the guys themselves, but just the whole moniker and the focus on it, because there was such a moniker on it for building that brand and doing lots of things with it. And like you said, I'm not against anyone having any kind of side hustle or doing anything else or building their own thing off of the back of what they do. I'm all for it. But it can't, if it's going to detract attention away from what you're mainly doing, you're going to have a problem. It's the same sort of logic as when guys turn around, and I know it's the stable answer, when they turn around and say, oh, well, what are your thoughts on this contract year coming up? Like, I'm just going to play football. Everything else will take care of itself. Well, it's the same logic. If you focus on your football, the other stuff will take care of itself.
Yeah.
Simple as. The music is different because it's a different thing entirely. It doesn't fall off the back of it, which is why it detracts attention more, which is why it's actually a more reasonable comment, in my opinion, Paul.
Genuine question, right? And it's somewhat related to what we're talking about, Rich. And Jalen Smith, with his whole sunglasses, clear eye view brand, like great sunglasses, great brand, stuff like that. But do you think it makes me just kind of realize? Do you think his side hustle may have actually really impacted in his actual playing ability? I would think so.
I think he did a lot for fans. If you notice,
he does amazing work for fans.
Yeah,
he does a lot.
Absolutely,
a lot of
maybe not the clear eye view, but maybe like all the stuff. Like he would do a lot of stuff for fans. I'm just wondering if that was something that attracted him away.
He did a lot with fans, and he did a lot in the community as well, and that is in no way a bad thing.
No, of course not. But did he do too much
from you?
Yeah.
There is going to be an issue, and unfortunately, these guys are mainly in a position to do those secondary things because they are football players.
Yeah.
So they need to make sure that carries on, so that they can do the other things because it enables it. So
I think when Jalen Smith signed his contract, and obviously Jerry said that, this is great, he's signed a contract that's team friendly. He realizes that the selling power of being in Dallas, and true enough, after that, if you watched Jalen Smith's Twitter stream, any social media post, it was all about what he's doing to help people set up businesses in Dallas. And this was during the middle of the season. He's tweeting things like this, which realistically, that's when he should be doing the Sean Lee and sitting there till, okay, he doesn't need to live like a monk, but he needs to sit there and do 2, 3, 4 extra hours a day of game tape or whatever. But no, he was posting about whatever awards he was attending that night to promote his brand or promote somebody else's brand or whatever. With grants that he'd started, helped start up the businesses. And I think that did detract from him. He said, right, I'm going to use my marketing power to build other people and help develop the community that way. It's admirable, but do that once you've actually completed your NFL career.
Haggis Pizza has ended the chat.
No. Pizza
but
better.
What we will do is, because obviously we're going to have to tie this up now before this runs too long. We will, next week, once we've looked a little bit more at it, we'll talk about the kicker position, because at the moment, that is just soggy paper.
Do we have to? Can we just leave that? Because that's depressing.
a fact that both kickers yesterday made one field goal between both of them. They made one.
And that was during the Mojo moment as well.
That's right. Yeah. So we'll talk about kickers next week once we see another week of it. We'll see how that's going.
Bring back Kai for Bath. I'm saying it right now.
At this rate, people will be screaming to have Greg Zerline back. But
no,
mate, he would be an upgrade right now with what's going on. But go on then, Paul. You hit me with this. Go on, Alex.
Yes, guys. If you're planning on to a Dallas Cowboys game this year, be sure to go and check out cowboysexperience.com for meet and greet, stadium tours, game tickets, tailgating, and much, much more. Like I said, like from previous experiences using with Cowboys Experience, you get the ultimate experience being a Cowboys fan. Yeah, as you can see from the picture, get to meet Lisa Jane Overcheck, Micah Parsons, Zach Martin, Travis Frederick, Drew Pearson, Hall of Famer, and much, much more.
Yeah, Lord.
Pizza may not be included.
Pizza.
And make sure to check out all of these guys. These are guys that have been on our pod most of the time as well. So talking Cowboys, hanging with the boys, blogging the boys. You'll get to hear our friend Paul every weekend as well with the World's team.
Shout out to Meg. Shout out to Meg.
Yep. Katie Funhouse, Jeff Reinbold Show, Law Nation. You know, check these guys out. I'm pretty much from the minute I wake up to the minute I go to bed, I'm listening to podcasts and I'm listening to these guys. So
yeah, and you can go with this one. You can go with this one, Rich, and then we'll tie it all up here.
Oh gosh, right. Here's the deal. If you're listening to this pod, you got to make a real effort. I know things are getting tight, but if you can, whatever you got to do, get a couple of side hustles on the go, get something called Hot Boys that won't detract too much from your main job, save some money, get out with us in 2023. It's going to be a ball.
Yeah.
It's going to be lit.
That's right. As we always say on that one, no great story ever starts with, I stayed at home.
No.
Join the adventure. But that is it for this week, guys. We will be back next week where we're going to look at another game or another week of camp, and it will be a little bit of a pre-game show because Denver's happening that weekend. So finally, Cowboys on the field properly. It is the Hall of Fame game tonight. Kickoff in the UK, 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm not in work tomorrow, so guess what I'm doing?
Plot twist, you're going to bed.
I'll be perfectly honest, I can't even remember who's actually playing in the Hall of Fame this year.
Jaguars Raiders.
Oh, yeah, I'll skip it.
It's football, so I'm going to be watching.
Yeah.
That is it, guys, from us. We will be back over the weekend, but you will see us on social media, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, yada, yada, yada. So have a nice, safe weekend, and we'll speak to you next week. I'm going to let these guys finish it out, and we'll see you all again.
Have a good one, guys. Go Cowboys.
Yep. Catch you next week, guys.